Okay, I'm standing directly underneath this 32 Chevy pickup and I'm going to attempt to film this. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but that, if you can see where my finger is pointing right there, is the throwout bearing, and I happen to have an extra. This one has a nice smooth flat surface on it. I haven't looked at that one. I'm going to release that clutch and try to take a look at the surface on that and see what it looks like. But the way that works is there is this round donut shaped piece here with a piece on each end that is held into the throwout bearing fork by this spring, one here and one on the top, and then the throwout bearing, excuse me, this piece here has a fiber material on here such as would be on a clutch plate or a brake pad, I suppose, and that pushes against this bearing because this bearing is of course spinning when this is engaged. So, and this is held in by three fingers and the pressure plate, and with little springs on each one that fit into these teeny tiny little holes right here. And then this whole clutch fork pivots on this little ball right here, little pivot point, and I had to adjust that out this way to apply more pressure on this when the clutch is pushed in to release, push this throwout bearing in and release the clutch. Now this 1990 S10 Chevy pickup input shaft has a sleeve on it on this bearing retainer. This front bearing retainer has a sleeve, and normally on that Chevrolet the throwout bearing would slide on this sleeve, and that's not the case here with this. The throwout bearing does not float on the sleeve. It is held in place by this fork. And so with this adaptation of this 1990 S10 transmission to this truck, this engine, that sleeve has to be cut back out of the way, which I have done there, and that allows things to travel and release that clutch. And look at that cute tiny itty bitty little bow tie right there, and that just the neatest little old thing. So now I checked my transmission bolts, and while I had this thing up in there just as tight as the day I put them in, that's good news. And I kind of checked over some other things and I tightened the oil pan bolts, which are again how this thing got its nickname back in the 30s, as they called it a stove bolt 6, and that's because throughout this engine there are these little bolts that look like the bolts that would have been found in a wood heating stove of that era. So there we go. Now I'm going to get this thing down on the lift and push that clutch in, and actually I may just lower it and push the clutch in and figure out a way to bind it so that that's held, the clutch is held in, and so I can inspect that throwout bearing and the fiber on that piece that's in the fork. Anyway, here we go. Boy, that was a mouthful, wasn't it? I'm glad I got that said. I was getting tired. Okay, I'm going to get her down and see what happens.